mic check, please.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ducks Unlimited Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Jennings.
I'm your host, Dr. Mike Brazier.
My name is John Gordon. I'll be your host.
And I'm your host, Katie Burke.
Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited Podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America. We bring the resource to you, the DU Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great edition of the DU Podcast. My name is John Gordon. I'll be your host. And today, our guest is somebody that is familiar to readers of the Ducks Unlimited magazine and many other sporting dog and outdoor publications, but you may not know his name. Mark Atwater is one of the top outdoor and dog photographers in the country. He covers all the major performance sporting dog events as well. And he's our guest today on the DU Podcast. Welcome, Mark Atwater.
Hey, thank you, John.
I know you're dealing with a little weather down there, Mark. It's a little stormy, but hopefully everything works out well. And I know you're headed for the AKC National Open. Am I correct?
That's right. National Retriever Championship in Paducah, Kentucky. And that's where any of you that have AKC registered dogs, and particularly, a lot of labs and golden stuff. But when you see the prefix NFC on a dog's registered name, that's National Field Champion, and that's what this event is about. It's very difficult to qualify for, and there's 99 dogs entered in it. They'll run 10 different tests over the course of 8 or 9 days, and there'll be one winner, and they'll wind up with maybe 10 or 12 dogs that finish, and they'll name a winner out of it. And that dog will get the NFC title. Yeah, pretty intense event.
To me, it's like the World Series of retrievers, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. And a lot of people kind of look down there, hunters and stuff, say, that's not. But if you look at many of the really, really great hunting dogs, shooting dogs, they've got these dogs in their pedigree. As grandparents, sometimes parents. And so they certainly do it at an extreme degree of precision and distance and everything else.
Yeah, it's really incredible what those dogs can do at the field trial level. I'm a hunt test fan personally, but to watch those dogs that become national champions is pretty incredible. What the level of training that they have, it's really fascinating. But
it is.
Anyway, neither here nor there. It's we're here to talk to you about photography in particular. That's what you're there at the National Open for. And we just did a DU Nation film at the UKC HRC Grand Hunt Test in Nashville that everybody can check out on YouTube. And your job there is to really capture these dogs in their element in the moment and really bring that to light. Am I correct?
That's right. It kind of varies with the event, what my exact commitment to the venue is as far as what they're looking for. But ultimately, it's to provide a collection of really top-notch images to the competing dogs or for the competing dog owners. And, and it's fun to show dogs from an angle, from a view in a way that many people have not seen before. And that's really fun and exciting to me, kind of a duck's eye point of view a lot of times.
I really like that description, a duck's eye point of view. That's what the duck sees, when the dog is coming at it, if the dog is making the retrieve. So we were talking about that, about some of the photos that you've taken over the years and gracing the cover of DU Magazine several times. And one particular cover that I love, which is near and dear to my heart, is the May-June 2019 cover of your dog Titan on the cover, which was the first golden retriever on DU Magazine cover in a very long time. And
I think since 1980. That was the only other one.
Right. It's interesting. That cover, the 1980 cover, is right outside in the hallway right here by the DU Podcast Studios. So, I walk past it all the time, and I see it. But I've got that 2019 cover on my desk just because I love it, and that, my current dog, Buster, is one of Titan's babies So it's really special to me.
Oh, yeah. Photographs are a snapshot in time, literally. I mean, it's you're capturing a memory, and we go through life fast enough, and the dogs go through our lives at an even faster pace. Working dogs, 10 years, maybe you get a little bit longer out of them, but that's it. And a lot of them don't make that long, but for one reason or another. But even in what we would consider, an old dog at 12 or 13 years old, or maybe beyond, is still not very long. And you get these great animals, and they really are great. They give us 100% every time they leave our side, and they don't ask questions; they just do it. And we make mistakes, and they forgive us every time, without question.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, they've got a lot more to forgive than we do.
Yeah, that's true, man. And from a Ducks Unlimited member standpoint, there's the vast majority of our membership are all dog owners, and they use them in the field, but they're some of your best friends, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, Buster's
Absolutely.
here at DU headquarters with me. He's at home with me. He's in the field with me. I mean, we do it all together, and I think that's a really special relationship. And I think you've done an incredible job capturing that relationship in some of your photos over the years, Mark.
Well, thank you.
When did you really start off, taking dog photos?
Well, I started way back years and years ago with 35 millimeter, just with my own dogs, hunting and so forth, and was, it was manual everything, manual exposure, manual focus, click, one single shot kind of stuff. And then probably in the early 2000, maybe 2005 or 6, I started shooting some digital. It was starting to become as good a quality, or nearly so, as 35 millimeter. And, I had some buddies that were running hunt tests, and I'd been helping them, and kind of just, I had done it hardcore for a while, and then my children got to be teenagers, and I was chasing them around, and I kind of got out of the active competition, but still had dogs. And anyway, but I had some buddies that were fired up about it, and they had some labs and were running hunt tests, and so I started going and just shooting them, and everybody really liked it. And I think the fact that I was a dog guy from way back when, and a hunter, it was a tremendous advantage in photographing them, because I knew the look. I knew, and I was, in many instances, knew where to be or how to get a dog to do what I wanted them to do to get the look. And so it's kind of a merger of photography, dogs, and hunting that started probably seriously in the 2005, 2006 era, somewhere right in there, maybe a little sooner. Maybe it might have been early to 2002 or something. But
you're talking about starting on 35 millimeter too. I think we talked about this at the Grand, how things have changed so much, and how it's easier to capture those images now than it was, because of you don't have the cost of film, the wait time to process, all the rest of it, and these new cameras are truly amazing at what they can do.
Oh yeah, 35 millimeter cameras basically were film holders. I mean, there was not a lot. You had a built-in light meter, and then later on in the 90s, late 90s, you started getting autofocus, a lot of autofocus stuff. But there wasn't a lot, and then there began to get some computers, some programming things they started. But now a camera is a handheld computer. I mean, for no doubt about it. And knowing how to operate it, and the similarities, the 35 millimeter. Anybody that shot 35 millimeter can transfer that knowledge over, and once they get past the technology or understand how to unlock the technology, they will be wildly successful in digital, because there's a lot of things are still the same, but you've got a lot of technology now, which is somewhat good. Some of it, I mean, just look at what you can get with a phone, for crying out loud. 20 years ago, we'd have been blown away, and now you're doing stuff with a phone. But probably the biggest thing for me, other than not being tethered to film, having to change film and process it and buy it, that's a huge deal, is just having the everything digital. But it's the complete control from capture to output. I used to develop some black and white stuff when I was in college, but not a lot after that, and certainly I didn't do any color. But now you can, so to speak, process your own or develop it in the digital darkroom, and that is a very satisfying, and to me and a lot of other photographers, I think that's part of the appeal is you not only get a great capture, but then you can really dial it in post-processing and customize it for the output, whether it's, web or a print or canvas or.
Yeah, that's right. There's some incredible programs out there, between Photoshop, Lightroom, and et cetera, that are really, they're fun to work with photos. If you're advising somebody just looking to get started in it, in a basic setup, what would you get?
Well, I'm a Nikon shooter, so I'm biased in that regard. I've been with them for a long time, since graduate school, and I like their system. It's easy to learn. It's very intuitive, and there's a consistency throughout their entire line from camera to camera. You don't have a lot of things on the top of the line pro body. You may have some extra stuff on the outside, but anything that's on the starter, the entry level, is going to be in the same place, the same type of control on the higher body. So that's what I would look at. But regardless, in this day and age, I'd probably look at at the new the mirrorless, which are kind of like a movie camera. There's no mirror that flips up, and so you can shoot completely silent. You have an advantage because it's an electronic viewfinder, which is very accurate, and it allows you to see the scene. It's kind of a what you see is what you get. So if it's too dark, it looks too dark, you need to add light. If it's too bright, you need to take light away, and using the camera controls to do that. I still teach in my workshops that we still do metering and all that, but a basic little like a Z6 II camera body with a 70 to 200 millimeter lens is a great all around setup. If you wanted to stay in a traditional digital DSLR single lens reflex with the mirror and everything, and they're a little less expensive. Maybe a D500 is a good camera, and there's others. That the issue is how much control do you want? Do you just want a point and shoot, an automatic kind of camera that you take with you, or do you want to have a camera that you can grow into and you actually do the driving and control it? And that would be a real deciding factor in what I would recommend. But basically, a good body, and then a 70 to 200 is a good all-around lens for go duck hunting. You can take it with you. It's good for dogs. It's good for people. It's a great portrait lens. It's not a wide angle. It's not going to be great for landscapes, but it'll do a lot of other stuff. And probably, I would say there's not a working professional photographer, at least that does anything outdoors, it doesn't have that lens in their camera bag. I mean, if I had to have one lens, that would be it.
That's awesome advice right there. And we talked about this on the DU Nation film as well, which, our YouTube series, that what are some things that people ought to really take into consideration when they're trying to take a great dog photo?
Obviously, the light. Where's the light coming from? How's the light hitting your subject? Is the light behind your subject, your dog, and he's sitting in his own shadow? That's a real tough situation. That's backlight. So can you change that? Can you turn him around and you get between the sun and the dog? So that's a real huge consideration. If you can't, can you put him in shade so that it's not so bright behind him, so that he's in much more uniform light? Especially with black labs, everybody says, oh my God, they're so hard to shoot, and they are difficult, but they're especially difficult when they're running in their own shadow or they're sitting in their own shadow, because now you have to add so much light to open the shadows up on that dog to see any detail that the background turns into the surface of the sun. So controlling, where the dog is or the subject and where you are in relation to the sun would be the first thing. The second thing is what's in the background. What's there that, I always preach, control what you can control. And so many times people will take what otherwise would be just an amazing shot, and there's a garbage can or chain link fence or, just some trash or something distracting in the background where you could either move it, remove it, get it out of there, or you simply move a few feet one way or the other, change your angle a little bit, and you've got a clean background, or at least non-distracting background. That helps that subject pop, and it's not, your eyes not wandering around, because there's some weird stuff in the background that's distracting. Those are the two main things that I see, are really easy to change in a lot of situations. Sometimes you can't. The event photography that I do, I mean, a lot of that is, it is, and good luck. Just take a second to think about it. Where's the light and what's behind my subject? And I think it'll really, really help, in a lot of situations.
That's incredible advice. And because these photos are stuff you're going to look back on for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Just like you said, the dog isn't going to be with you forever. So you can really take a look at these. And if you put a little time and effort into it and thinking about it, you really create an image that will, lasts a lifetime.
Correct. Right.
That's great. That's great advice.
I mean, it's just sometimes we get so focused on the subject, we just all, it's like flock shooting a bunch of incoming teal, there's a lot of air around them, and you know how that's going to work out. And you get so excited because there's a really great image in front of you that you just, forget some of the real simple things that could make it a truly amazing memory that you've captured.
These are moments in time that are frozen forever, and you can look back on them, and people will look back on them for a very long time. So I'm moving away from photography now because I'm going to talk about a subject with you that is, of course, once again near and dear to my heart. We did a film on this too, called Red Dogs. People want to check it out. You can go on YouTube or ducks.org to DU Films for the Red Dog film, and I just looked at it the other day. It's already crossed over 11,000 views on YouTube. So people really enjoy it, man. They really watch it. And it's golden retrievers. They're so... You go to the big dog events. You go out in the field. It's primarily Labradors. And I love labs. Don't get me wrong. But you're responsible for my falling in love with golden retrievers. And their disposition and their clown personalities and, just what those golden retrievers bring that a lot of dogs don't. So let's talk a little bit about golden retrievers. You told me this story before, but let listeners know where you were in when you really saw a golden retriever that you really were intrigued by.
The one that really sealed the deal was when I was photographing the Fall Grand of 2008. It was in Jackson, Tennessee. Leading up to that, before I get to that, I had an opportunity to do some private commission shoots prior to that. Miss Carol Reed from Wisconsin, the golden retriever breeder, had a dog named Punch. She was wintering down here in South Georgia and training, and I had an opportunity to photograph Punch, and he was probably the first field-bred golden that it was like, wow, holy crap. I mean, this dog had a motor and really exciting. And then fast forward a couple of years to the Grand there that I'm shooting, and I'm out in the field shooting back on the line, flooded cornfield, and a triple and a blind. Chris Shakin comes up to the line with a golden retriever named Reddy. And I historically, when I've encountered Goldens years ago, when Hunt Test started, I was heavily involved with that and used to run a lot of field trials prior to that. But, the Goldens that you saw would be like watching paint dry. It was like, okay. So he comes up to the line with his dog, and he's a dark dog, dark red, and I'm like, okay, well, I can have a sandwich or whatever, no big deal. And he watches the three marks go off, the birds he's expected to remember and go find, and sit there like a statue, never moved a muscle, which is pretty typical of a lot of the Goldens, really good line manners. And when he kicked him off, he looked like he was shot out of a cannon. And I'm like, holy crap, I mean, just boom, boom, boom. I mean, laser beamed all three of those marks. It was awesome. I mean, it was really awesome. Then he's got to run the blind, and, same thing. He sits there, he lines him up, kicks him off on the blind, and same deal, like he shot out of a cannon. And Chris hits the first whistle, and it looked like he ran into a brick wall, just slammed on the brakes, turned around. I don't remember the specifics. He did a great job, maybe 3 or 4 casts to get to the blind, but it was all just so a great control combined with great enthusiasm, style, and drive. And it just was like, it was unbelievable. And so, that was what really got my attention. And then in 2010, I got like 5 emails from different people about this litter of golden puppies. Now, keep in mind, I'd had labs my whole life, my whole adult life. I tell people I'm a lab guy. I just have goldens. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
But and it's about this litter out of Reddy, bred to a really nice female from Savannah that I'd photographed on some weekend tests. Also a really dark red, a really dark golden. And I just made the comment to my wife and that, if I was ever going to own a golden, this is the litter. And she's like, well, call, and I'm like, really? And so long story short, there were 2 male puppies left. Well, at that point in my life, I really liked the female labs. They just seemed to be easier to work with and all that. And we had had a yellow lab named Heidi. And anyway, so if we wanted one, it was going to be a male. Anyway, we've got one of the males that was out of, 10, 11 puppies, and named him Yeti, and he changed my life in a lot of people's lives. He was a real a steward, not a steward. I'm not sure the word, but for the golden retrievers, he opened so many people's eyes to the fact that you could have this dog that would run, hit the water, big water entry. He'd go as far as you wanted to go. I mean, he had a motor. There was, goose. He was a goose machine on a snow goose field. He had eyes in the back of his head. I mean, he just knew where birds fell. He had an incredible sense of place. And, if you sat back, he was gone. I mean, he was gone. He would run, 500 yards, unless you stopped him or he found a bird. And so he really was, a lot of people hadn't seen it. He got his grand title. He became the 14th golden in 30 years to have a Grand Hunt Retriever Championship, and later went on past 4 more. He's still the leading, or the most number of grand passes by a golden with 6. First golden in the HRC Hall of Fame, Master National Hall of Fame, Hunt Test Hall of Golden Retriever Club of America, Hunt Test. Anyway, he was bad to the bone, and the sweetest dog when he wasn't working. Just calmed down, had this off switch, and that's really the thing that really, really turned me on to the breed, I call it, field bred. There's only one is golden retriever, but you've got kind of the regular ones that are the really big dogs. They typically are large. They typically have a lot of hair and not a lot of drive. And I don't mean to step on anybody's toes, but I photographed thousands of them, and that's, typical. Now, I'm not saying there aren't exceptions, but whereas you've got the field dogs, the dogs that are, originally the way they breed started. They're extremely athletic. They're muscle and bone. They perform at the highest level of all of the, not only field, but agility, obedience, search and rescue. These are the dogs people seek out. They're smart. They have drive. They want to work, and they love people.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Buster's got a fan club. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
DU National Headquarters.
I don't doubt it.
People come by to see him versus seeing me, on a daily basis. They're like, where's the dog? It's pretty incredible because they're such people dogs, too. They love people so much, and they're just so affectionate. But then, man, you turn them out into the field, that switch flips. And what's really crazy to me, I've seen Labradors like this, too.
Yeah. Sure.
Pretty cool at home, and you take them in the field, and it goes, but these golden retrievers will have switches that are going between birds. I mean, they can relax
absolutely.
and hang out until you start picking up a duck call. You start locating it, and they see birds flying, and they just completely lock in on it.
Yep.
And totally flip that switch. It's pretty amazing to me. And I've done some. You were talking about history, how they started. Breed origins fascinate me because just like the Labrador, right? They start out in Newfoundland. The British aristocracy gets a hold of the dog and turns it into the dog we know today. But golden retrievers, best I can tell, it all goes back to a guy named Dudley Marchbanks. a Scottish businessman. So the Golden Retriever is really a Scottish dog,
Right.
when it starts out, and he later becomes Baron Tweedmouth. So and really developed the Golden Retriever from that. From what I could tell, he started out with flat coat. It was a yellow flat coat, which was rare, and so he used a yellow flat coat male and a dog breed that's actually not around anymore, the Tweed Water Spaniel. And put those two dogs together, and of course, brought some others, as they always do. Just you experiment with different things. I think he used some red setters too, and I think that's where the color came from. Of the dark red, golden, red dogs, as we call them, that came in. So it's a pretty fascinating story that this one guy, who was a businessman in Scotland, developed the Golden Retriever in a place where the Labrador was king at that point. This is the late 1800s. The breed was recognized by the English Kennel Club in 1913, and then later in the U.S. after that. But so it's a fairly recent breed when it comes right down to it. There's a lot older breeds than the Golden Retriever, but pretty cool story on the backside.
Oh, very cool. And a sidebar to that, back the first, I believe, 2 National Retriever Championships, it's evolved way beyond what it started as. I mean, it started as the aristocracy, basically wealthy people that could afford to, train their dog, have their dogs trained, and they came together to compete in the National Retriever Championship. And I want to say it was maybe in the 30s. And someone will correct me on that. I'm sure it was, and of course, then these dogs were working dogs. They were hunting dogs, and it was a lot different than what it is now. Now, some of the national dogs competing in Paducah this next week would actually do hunt, but most of them don't. They're specialists. But I believe the first 2 winners, the first 2 years, the winners were Golden Retrievers, and they had a pretty dominant force early on. The game changed a little bit, kind of got way away from kind of where it started, but it's still a great game. But now, of course, the Labrador is much more dominant than any other breed in that particular event. But
why do you think that is? Why is the Labrador excelled so well in the performance events?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons. I think some of your best field dogs never get to see a duck killed over it because they're so adaptable to do so many other things. They could be in an agility ring or an obedience ring, or they could be a therapy dog. They can be a search and rescue dog. I think that's one part of it. I think another part of it is owners get very, very attached to them, and they literally don't want them to go away for training that is, there's some very successful amateurs in the field trial game, but they dedicate their lives to training. They essentially could be a pro in a lot of cases. This isn't, like a train on the weekend kind of thing. It's hardcore at that level. And so a lot of people just look, I'm going to go as far. It's me and my dog. We're a team. We're going to do what we can do. We're going to play the game. It is what it is. I'm not sending my dog away to be trained and be on a pro's truck for, 10 months out of the year. And I never get to live my life with my dogs. And I shoot puppies that I've sold. I've seen the same, they don't even want it to go away for training for 4 months because they just don't want to be without it. I think that's right. That's part of it. And I think Goldens tend to be, they're very, very smart. Not that Labs aren't. They're very smart. But sometimes Goldens can say, well, okay, I know where that bird is. I'm going to go this way to get it, and not just go through and run like a laser beam through with a plow on the front of it through whatever. And that can, just make some difference. They have an excellent nose. I don't think anyone would argue with that. Their nose is, an order of magnitude better than most Labs. Which can be good. It can be a curse. You start running these really tight marks where you got to run past them and stuff. It can hurt you. I think that's a little bit of it too. The game, it started out as a hunting game, and now it's basically if you go out and you don't just put your face on the bird. I'm talking about field trials now. You're not going to do well. If you actually you get out there and you're not sure where it is and you have to hunt and find the bird. That's kind of it's more about marking and going right to where it fell. But and I think maybe the other thing is just training that, because they are a hands-on dog, and I always tell people they want to know why. Goldens want to know why. Can they take pressure? Absolutely. My dogs, all of them, can take training pressure very well, but they want to know why. I mean, you can't use force to plow through confusion and have somebody have a dog on the other end. It's like, hey, okay, let's go. They don't like that. I mean, it'd be like somebody speaking to you in Russian. You don't understand it, and they walk up and slap you in the head. I mean, I don't understand what's going on. And Goldens typically don't do well with that, and a lot of labs don't do well with that. I mean, that's just good dog training.
Right.
But certainly there's situations where and pressure comes in other forms too. A lot of mental pressure in that game as well. But I don't know. That'd be my guess. And then the fact that the labs have done so well, that want to play that game, they don't want to spend 7 or 8 years, 10 years on a dog that they don't feel like is may not be as competitive. I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna run a red dog, and we do what we do, because
me too.
At the end of the day, it's that relationship with that animal, and of course, I've got 5 of them in the office here with me right now, and they're all foraging around, wanting to know what's going on. But I'm gonna have me one. We're gonna, they may. Once they make the team, they may ride the bench, but they ain't going anywhere. They're on the team, so.
That's right. Once again, folks, you want to see more of this, like that great film, Red Dogs, that we did in the Stuttgart, Arkansas area a couple of years ago. Like I said, you can see it on ducks.org or on the DU YouTube channel. Just like I said, just look up Red Dogs, DU Films Red Dogs, and it'll pop right up. I looked at it yesterday. So you do, going back to photography, Mark, like you said, you do give seminars, am I correct, and workshops over the course of the year?
Yeah, I usually do several workshops from 3 to 5 day. I started doing them because there was a lot of people that would buy a camera. They'd buy the latest, greatest camera, and their pictures just wouldn't get any better. They just simply did not know how to operate the camera. They didn't understand the fundamentals of light as it relates to photography and how that compares to the way the human eye sees. And so I started doing them, and it's like, so my basic workshop is that. It's a 3-day workshop that's designed to help you learn to drive your camera so that you can predictably and reliably capture with your camera what you see with your eye, because that's the biggest frustrating thing. You see this great thing unfold. Everybody that, we all see great stuff. We plow through life at 100 miles an hour, and sometimes, we don't take time to stop and capture it. But, the DU members and duck hunting, we're all hooked on Quack, and when we go out, we all see cool stuff. Oh my God, did you see a bald eagle come down and swoop on that duck, on that crippled out there, or whatever, or the sunrise, the sunset, the dog retrieve, the birds coming in. It's just a target-rich environment. And so what's more frustrating than to see it, and you got this, really nice camera, and maybe you get a shot or two, but, basically no. And so that's how it all started. And then I do offer some more advanced workshops for people that have more experience or have maybe gone through the basic workshop and they just want to keep going and really get really into mechanics in the advanced part of photography as far as it relates to positioning and light angles and all kinds of cool stuff like that helps you take better pictures than what you're getting.
Yeah, excellent. And also, if people want you to come take pictures of their dogs, that's available as well, right?
It is. And people will say, "Oh, what do I got to do for you to get one of my, get a picture of my dog on the cover?" If I've shot an event or something, I said, well, it really helps if I've got a good collection of images. So yeah, I'll go hunting with them and take pictures, or I do a lot of, the commission shoots where we'll get a group of people with a few dogs and I'll set it up and we'll take a combination of portraits and retrieves and dogs hitting the water and jumping logs and whatever is available or whatever they want. And that's the best way to get a good collection because I can control so much of I can't make the dog run, But if he'll do that, we'll usually get some really cool stuff. And and then so that's the way to get a great collection of great images. I get good stuff at the events. I've been very blessed, very fortunate, have good photographers that help me at these bigger events too. But there's no predictability to it. I can't guarantee an individual that I'm going to get a great picture of his dog because there's just too many things I can't control. And so this offers people an opportunity with that special dog that four-legged buddy that we mourn when they're gone and cry like a baby. They just touch our heart that much. And so this gives people a chance to get some cool stuff and and not just here's a couple of shots, but hopefully we get a good collection, 50 or 60 magazine cover quality images, sometimes more out of a shoot.
Very good, very good. I know your website is Up Close Photo. Can people reach you through that?
They can. UpClosePhoto.com, and there's a contact me deal. You can send an email. I think my phone number's on there, and then social media. Mark Atwater on Facebook, and I've got an Up Close Photo page as well. So, but any of those, just reach out to me and be glad to help in any way I can. Photography is a great sport, and it's something that, as long as it makes you happy, that's the only person you got to please, and that's what's fun about it. And so I like helping people with their photography. I like photographing these dogs that are just unreal. And of course, the waterfowl, that scratches an itch almost as good as hunting. I mean, the dog doesn't get to play it's like catch and release duck hunting with a camera, and fun. But the only bad thing is usually the dog's in the truck going, what the hell? This, what do I get out of it? Why am I not out there? So my hunting has evolved into, I really hunt mainly for the dogs, and I've had opportunity to be in some fabulous places. And, I've had an opportunity, as I'm sure you have, to go to some amazing hunts and been invited to some places. But if I can't take my dog, it's kind of, it's almost like, I don't know,
Yeah, and, I know what you mean.
So, I mean, I'm not saying I won't go, but certainly I go, obviously, to photograph other people's dogs. I mean, I'm not going to take my dog on that, but as far as just being invited to hunt with a friend or something, and we're down here in South Georgia because of the gators, a lot of times we can't use a dog. I can take him, but I may not bring him home. So that ain't going to work for me.
That's all right. I've been to some places in South Louisiana, too, that I wouldn't take a dog either. It's can get a little gatory.
Oh, I'd lose my mind if I lost one of my dogs to a gator. That'd be...
And it's happened, man. I can't even imagine. I would be trying to pull a Tarzan, swimming out there and trying to get the dog away from the alligator.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so, once again, Mark, thanks for joining us on the Ducks Unlimited podcast. And it's been great and very enlightening. And once again, folks, we've got a great DU Nation segment coming up on this that we did at the HRC Grand with Mark, really showing you and then in showing the images as well of the dog that we took and showing you the lighting and the backgrounds and how you can really take better pictures of your dog. So check that out on DU Nation on YouTube, on the Ducks Unlimited YouTube channel. And once again, Mark, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and I hope everyone has good luck and get out there and capture some of those memories of your dog and your hunts and your kids, because it goes by so fast, and those memories will last a lifetime.
Man, it definitely. So thanks a lot, Mark. And thank you, everyone out there, for tuning into the Ducks Unlimited podcast. And thanks again for supporting waterfowl and wetlands conservation.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the DU Podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit www.ducks.org/DU Podcast for resources based on today's topics, as well as access to more episodes. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks. Stay tuned to the Ducks.